Today I'm here with Josh and Aubrey Jones, who are two of my favorite people, and I had to have them on. You're like already laughing.
I'm sorry. He was like touching me all funky.
This is so hard to be professional when you know them so well, but I had to have them on because they just have so many amazing things going for them. They have this incredible family. You both have successful businesses that you've had to build from the ground up, and so I want to hear all about that. But I heard of something that is an even bigger accomplishment, and that is that Josh was voted best looking in his 8th grade class and got a trophy for it.
So I have all these accomplishments, and that's the one that
Children,
it's
whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. Marriage, temple marriage, almost 6 children, successful business, and that's probably like the top.
The top. So first of all, actually, let me say this. Aubrey, you've built up this huge following on TikTok, and you do all kinds of videos. Some are super funny, and some show your family, your cute girls who I see all the time and I adore. And it would almost seem if someone didn't know you guys, they might look and be like, they have this perfect family, perfect marriage, and you kind of do. You guys are an incredible couple, but is it always that easy and always that perfect in your guys' home? I just have to ask straight up.
I'm obviously, social media does not show the true 100% of everything. So just as with other influencers and content creators, we do not show the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know,
Yeah.
we really curate what we post. And so it is a lot of our perfect little family and matching dresses
Yeah.
and, you know, cute, fun things, because that's really what we wanted to do our page for, was to bring happiness and comedy and, you know, lighthearted things. And so we keep a lot of the negative off of the internet, mainly just because we like our channel to be a place where people can come and know that they're going to get happy, fun, cute things.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of our more serious things we talk about on our own podcast, in my Instagram stories. We did mentoring that was recorded with our mentor, Chris Crone, and that's all over YouTube. And you can hear all about our struggles that we had, including our intimacy and our marriage. And so we don't hide it on our page, but our page is mostly specifically positive things. But we have been very, very open about the struggles we've had. And
anyone who actually knows you guys personally knows that that's why you're so lovable, is because you guys are an open book. You've told me some funny
maybe
stories.
too much.
No, it's great. It's relatable, and you guys do have this great marriage, but like every great marriage, it doesn't mean that it's just easy all the time and you're always in love and always wanting to, you know, be intimate. Like, it's not that way all the time. It just isn't. So
During
what
second trimester it is.
This is true. This is very true.
I am currently in my second trimester, so
my gosh.
we've been getting along really well.
I know. Oh, yeah, we could tell stories all day long. First trimester, I'm like, seriously? I'm over here vomiting. I'm not interested.
Yes,
in that right now. Oh, my goodness. Okay, what have you guys done to keep your marriage together?
You asked a second ago, you said, is everything all, you know, sunshine and rainbows? And we tried to record, was that earlier this week? When we meet with you, and what was it? It was like 5 minutes beforehand. I call you and I say, hey, Christina, we're not going to make it today. And you're like, hey, what happened? And I'm like, yeah, Aubrey and I got in a really big fight. And we're just, it's absolutely not going to happen. And you ask, like, what have we done to make it work? Well, like, we were, like, not bare knuckle boxing, but we were going at each other. And we went out to eat. We sat down, we had lunch, we had more conversation.
We resolved it. We worked through it.
We resolved it. And a part of it is actually a part of what you and Sean have taught us, Christina.
Oh.
You recommended a book. It was His Needs, Her Needs.
Oh, yes.
And we actually, Aubrey, like in the middle of the fight, she pulled up the list of the 5 for him, the 5 for her. And she's like, you're not meeting my needs.
I did not say that. Okay, let me clarify.
Here we go. Buckle up, everyone.
Okay, that's what I heard.
So what I did was I texted him a screenshot of the 5 needs for him and for her. And he was sitting right next to me. And he pulls it up and he goes, I'm not meeting any of your needs.
Oh.
And then I was just silent.
You just admitted that?
I was just silent. Yeah. See, I didn't have to attack you. Maybe that deep voice was your internal voice. It was like that mean, like, I'm not doing it.
My conscience sounds like Aubrey yelling. So.
A lot like Aubrey.
But yeah, and we did work through it, and it was a little bit of miscommunication and a little bit of Josh was in the wrong, and but I think what he was getting at that's so important is that it's not so much if you have disagreements or arguments, but it's about how you work through them.
Totally.
And the fact that you do work through them.
It would have been a really different episode if we did show up.
Oh yeah.
It would have been
It
fascinating.
would have been marriage counseling.
We actually we did that on our podcast where we actually were in the middle of a fight.
Oh, wow.
And we showed up still to record.
Oh.
And we're like, so let's actually talk about resolution techniques. Let's talk about what we do.
Wow. I'm going to go back and watch that.
We went through the fight like on camera.
Where do we find this podcast,
Yeah.
by the way? Because her handle is What About Ob on both TikTok and Instagram, right?
Yes.
And you've got a very large following on both, actually. And then where do we find this podcast?
It's the 1M Club.
The 1M Club.
Yeah.
It's
So-
on Instagram and YouTube.
Instagram
And
and YouTube.
Spotify, I think.
Yes.
Which makes a lot of sense you'd call it that because you are so good at building up these businesses. And we're going to get to that in a second. But I want to continue to focus on this for a second because you guys do have this great marriage. I've seen you guys and been around you enough to see that even when you disagree, you always come back together. Is there something that, I mean, other than, okay, you've read a good book and you put those into practice, but is there anything else that draws you guys closer and makes this marriage work?
We talked about this actually before we got here. We wanted to think about the answer to that question. One of the things that we were talking about earlier is the reality of Satan.
Wow.
If you look at energy, you look at the energy between a couple, if you don't believe that Satan is real, you don't believe in the devil, and you just kind of gloss over that, there are so many things, so many energies in a home that all of a sudden it becomes distinct once you recognize that it's not coming from God. It is absolutely coming from the adversary. And a practice that we have in our home that we've just basically gotten to the point where it's just call it what it is, recognize it for what it is. This isn't me, this isn't you. This isn't God, so it is someone else.
Wow.
And
You can feel it that obviously.
yeah, it's gotten to the point where it becomes very obvious once you just identify it and you say it's not me, it's not you, it's not God. This is the enemy. This is the adversary. And this is all Christian religions believe that to get rid of it in the name of Jesus Christ,
The
you
opposite of
cast
Satan.
it out.
Wow.
Well, if you have something special that you are accomplishing in this life, then the adversary is going to challenge your energy, the energy and the peace of your home, and seek to cause as much contention and destruction as is possible.
So how do you avoid that?
Recognizing not only how you're thinking and how you're feeling, but how you're responding with one another, the emotions you're bringing into your home, the things that you're watching. If you're watching things that are negative and, a lot of murders and things like that, that's going to be that lower energy. You're going
So
to
I need to stop
invite
watching
that
true
in.
crime is what you're saying.
I mean, if you're having a feeling right now that that's what you're supposed to do, then,
Probably true.
take that at however it feels right for you. But, there's a reason that when you go to church, you feel uplifted, you feel lighter.
Yeah.
It's because of that frequency. You're coming in with love and with gratitude and with charity for each other. And there's a reason that, if you're going to places with people who are just unhappy, you just start to feel unhappy with them. It's because you're feeling their frequency, you're feeling their energy. And so paying more attention to what you're allowing into your life is going to be so important for your relationship, because it's going to have an impact on you. It's going to have an impact on your ability to interact with your spouse, with your children, with your employees, or people that you're working with. those little things are going to make a difference to your own energy.
Okay, so I want to ask something about this then. Based on what you just said of allowing things or not allowing things into your marriage and what you're viewing, who you're around, what are your thoughts on pornography as a couple?
There is a zero tolerance and never have experienced in our relationship.
I totally agree. I'm asking this because I do have a couple of friends who are like, oh, it's helped our marriage because they were struggling in that department. And I'm like, oh, if you only knew how terrible this is going to be for your marriage. Pornography will never help anyone in any way, ever. Bottom line, it just won't. There's so many studies on it.
Well, and I mean, again, going back to energy, right? So like, let's think about what the energy is when it's created. So these are actors. These are people who are, if they're doing that, they're struggling to pay for something. A lot of times it's a drug addiction or something else that is going to bring that lower energy. So the people behind it who know how much money it can make, it's greed. That's going to be in that lower energy.
The people consuming it, it's lust.
The people consuming are lust. So that energy around it is in those lower vibrations. So again, if God is a higher vibration and Satan is a lower vibration, it will line up. Your energy will line up to one or the other. And so consuming pornography, even if you think it's, I don't know, someone doing an OnlyFans and it's like, well, it's just them and it's their freedom, their choice. They're not being forced to it. There's an energy behind it, whether it's, again, greed or, self-worth, and
or
there's
lack of.
a lack of, exactly. There's something there and that energy will be transferred to you.
So do you guys do like a weekly date night? Do you pray together? Like what are some things that you do on a normal like day-to-day or weekly basis that has strengthened your marriage?
One thing that we always do is we put the kids to bed early enough so that we have time to spend together every night, whether it's watching a TV show that we like or praying together, or he just prayed over me and gave me a blessing because I had been struggling with headaches, and having that time together to be there for one another in whatever way needed is so important. So especially if you're a parent, recognizing that your time together with just your spouse is so important.
So important.
So we aim for, from that same book, 15 hours a week of just quality alone time, just not having any of the kids present, not having anyone else, and just having the two of us able to develop our relationship.
You know what, when I first read that book, I remember thinking 15 hours a week, we're both so insanely busy. But it's actually really doable. It's like you said, getting the kids to bed early is the biggest thing, making sure, that you have that alone time. So that's a couple hours every night, and then having a date night once a week, then that's another, if you think about it, dinner, movie, whatever, then that's another 5-6 hours right there if you really take the time to plan it. So leading into that, this with your business, how is that possible? Because I know how busy you are, and I specifically want to ask, how does someone who has this great idea actually take the next step and propel it forward?
So there's two questions.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
One is how do I manage and juggle a business? How does she manage and juggle her business? And how does somebody go and just make that happen if they have a good business idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say, I don't know if it's fear holding them back or thinking that they don't have enough experience or money or whatever.
We have an answer to that. You want to start with that?
Well, so I have something that came to my mind, not exactly an answer to that, but when she asked about how are we managing business and family, my first thought was defining roles. And I think it's so important to recognize that men and women have different abilities and talents naturally. And so I have the role mostly of the caregiver of the kids. And then he is mostly the full-time breadwinner, and so we recognize our roles and we work around that in a way that fits for our family.
So business-wise, we've done a few things to make sure that there's balance. So as in my role as a father, one of the things that I've done is when I've had to travel across the country, I've brought each of the kids with me on like a daddy-daughter 3-day
What a great idea.
trip. And it's been something where we get to spend the quality time together. We go through the airport together. We stay in the Airbnb together.
Just so exciting.
And it's that's been really special to be able to spend that one-on-one quality time with them. It's kind of like getting a getaway with us as a couple.
Yeah.
You get that quality time. So I've been rotating through each of them. The other thing that we did this right after the last baby was born. And the purpose of it was I was really busy with work and we had a brand new baby, and I wanted to make sure the new baby didn't overshadow the other girls and make them feel like they were less than. And so it was about 2 months, maybe a month or two straight. Every single night we had a day of the week that was assigned to each of the girls. Oh. So Trendy had Monday night, and we had best buddy time, is what we called it.
That's so
and
cute.
So it was 30 to 90 minutes after everyone else went to bed. I would just spend one-on-one time with her. And so the rule that we made is we said, hey girls, if we're gonna do this, everybody else has to go to bed earlier if this is gonna work.
This is genius.
And that time, it's basically once it gets to a certain time, I just have to say, there's so much work. I could be working nonstop for the rest of my life, and there will still be work.
Yeah.
It's always going to be
Like
there.
you get the short time with your babies.
But exactly what I've recognized, and I've listened to the people who have said it goes by quick, and they always long.
Warning. Yeah.
They long for the time that I'm in right now. The age that my kids are right now, they miss it because it's this blip and it's gone, and then they're empty nesters and they wish they would have spent that time. And so that's basically what I've learned is I have to just stop and then just be and just say work will start again tomorrow.
It'll all be there.
And it'll all be there. It will always be there, but my children won't.
Yeah.
I think a tip for that, especially because we're both entrepreneurs, and for anyone else who has a busy work life that just never stops, set do not disturb on your phone for a certain time every day so that, come 6, 7, 8 o'clock, whatever time you decide you're totally done with work, your phone goes on do not disturb. You don't get notifications anymore. You can actually go in there and do a setting so that you have 0 notifications show up on your phone at all.
I've been working with someone recently who reminds me a lot of you.
Really?
She's super ambitious, super high energy, super high performance in sales. And one of the things that I am passionate about is helping people find their why. The big picture, why are you doing this? And I by nature and by choice, am very spiritual, very religious. Very much my life is centered around, I am here to live my life for God, for other people, and for that love for myself. And having a why that is so rock solid that doesn't matter what obstacles come in your way, it doesn't matter what fiery darts are attacking you, what whirlwinds are trying to destroy you, your confidence, your faith in your mission, doesn't matter what it is, that why will withstand all of it.
So what would you say to someone, let's say they're not married, they don't have kids, and they're atheist?
Okay.
Tell them to believe in God?
Frankly, yeah. I have found so much meaning in my life from believing in a higher power and believing in a life after this, that atheism to me, what morals are you going to live for? What treasures in heaven are you going to be saving up for? Because you are going to, with that mindset of there's nothing after this, there's no God, there's no why behind this creation, well, I'm going to live for myself. I'm going to be a selfish market actor, and economically, everything's about me. Relationship-wise, everything's about me. But when you have that faith and that trust in a God and a higher power, all of a sudden there is a grander plan by a great chorister who has directed everything, every single piece, every single ounce of your life has been guided and led either by angels, by the Holy Spirit, by a Savior, by a Father in heaven. That is what I would tell somebody in that situation. And here's the thing, you do an analysis and you say, okay, what if it's not true? But what if it's not true and I don't live it? Yeah, you're probably going to have a selfish life. What if it's not true and I do live it? Well, the risk that you have in living as if there's a God is, well, you're going to be kinder to people, and as a result, they're probably going to be kinder back to you. You're going to demonstrate love, and as a result, you're going to receive more love, and the energy that you're going to feel in your life is going to be a lot higher. So if you don't believe in a God, live your life as if there is one.
I love that.
If you look at the teachings of religion, the teachings of Christianity, it is principles that are true principles. That's how you can know if it's true or not, is by living the principles and seeing what the result is.
Yeah, don't knock it till you try it.
Don't knock it till you try it. And that's what I've experienced is I've lived those principles, and the promise is if you live them, you're going to be happier after this life. But if you live them, you should also be happier during this life.
So Josh, you said something there. I think there were 4 principles to make a happy family.
Yeah.
And it went viral. Will you tell me what those are?
So it's what is the order of them? So it's church on Sunday morning as a family fitness activities, eat dinner together as a family, and then quality alone time with the couple.
Wow. And I heard that there was actually a lot of negative and positive response to that.
Oh, it was the negative was all about church on Sunday morning. Everybody was like, "Ooh, that's garbage." Like, no, of course, like I'm not going to do that. And it's just one of those things where those are old-fashioned traditional values that if you look back 50 years ago, yeah, there's no question. That is solid advice. Those are solid principles. But if you look at the moral decay of our society, it gets further and further separated from traditional Christian family-centered values.
So do you guys feel like those same 4 values have kind of integrated into business as well? Like you've seen success because you've decided to live this way? Or do you think it's totally
Absolutely.
separate?
No, it's a direct correlation for sure. I mean, one thing is we not only go to church on Sunday, but we don't work on Sunday. And so Sunday has become like a very special sacred day that I know Josh is not going to take a phone call. And we know that the kids know they're going to have dad 100% that day. And that one day of rest has completely made it so that he is totally rejuvenated and ready for the week to start the next day. Wow. We know so many people in his industry who don't take off Sunday and they just burn out. They quit early on, and it's not sustainable when you just keep going all the time. But when you're forced to, again, we are forcing ourselves to take that time off because of a higher belief, because of something that drives us to do it, then we're seeing blessings of strength and energy and, so much more ability to work 100% during the week.
So if you could give some other advice on making a business really take off, because yours has really taken off and so is yours. I mean, so we've covered, there's a spiritual aspect. What other advice? Is it get up early? Is it work hard? What is it?
Have I shared my greatest secret to success with you?
No.
Okay, so
which is kind of rude because I see you like twice a week.
So this is something that actually our friend who introduced us is the one who
Casey Baugh
is the one who started this for me, and then I learned the rest of it from experience. So I have a goal book where I've written down the inspired desires of my heart, the things that I want to accomplish in this life that I feel called by God to do, and that also I want to do to experience the fullness of joy in this life. And what I did is I wrote that down a decade ago and set those as my goals. And in the pages following those goals, I've I've written question and answer with God.
Give me an example of a question.
So one question was when we were living in Arizona and we were thinking about moving to Connecticut for our work, we just asked, should we move here? And we prayed and we asked, and the answer that came back was, yeah, just put your family first.
Wow.
It's like, that's fine. You can do that. Whatever. It's fine. Just put your family first. And what happened is years later, it's what, 4 years after that, we were looking to make some changes, and we went back and we looked and we read that, and it was like, oh my goodness, we haven't been doing this. We haven't been following the one piece of guidance from God. I'd call it revelation from God that we received. And now we need to repent. We need to change. We need to make sure that we are doing that.
Putting your family first.
Moving forward. And that's when we started our business.
You've preached a bunch on your podcast about the abundance mentality, but you guys actually live that principle. So when I was starting this podcast, you guys would sit there with me for hours even, like giving me advice, don't do this, do this, and half the time I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what you just said. I don't do social media. I've never liked social media. I don't want any part of social media. And so now I'm reluctantly having to learn social media for this podcast. But you guys have been so willing and even wanting to help. And then these 5-paragraph long texts that you send to Sean and I, which is so helpful because I'm like, what does it mean when this happens? You're like, no, this is good because this, and this. And
I remember when
not everyone's that way though to help me and help us. And so
here's the
you
thing.
live it.
Your why matches the why that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
Your why for this is just so incredible because you're trying to serve. You're not trying. You are serving people.
Thank you.
You're lifting up. You're spotlighting goodness in this world. You're spotlighting the good things about negative situations. You're spotlighting recovery. It's been absolutely incredible to see, and I pray that this takes off and people get more of this, because there's so much negativity and so much like clickbait because of negativity.
Wow.
I think the energy that you're wanting to create is you're wanting to create the media that you want to consume. And it's so admirable, and we're honored to be here and so grateful.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. What you see is what you get with these two. Like this is literally our normal conversations. This is why I love it. You guys are as real as they come. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having us.